It's Thursday, February 26, 2015. I'm Jimmy Principe.
And I'm Trey Comstock. Put in your final orders because this is Tech's Last Call, episode 109. Your last call for Tech News of the Week. Tonight, Jimmy throws a pebble at Superfish, and I access the open internet on my Apple Watch thing. And we start tonight with Tom Wheeler being my least disappointing thing of the year. It's relatively official. The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, decided in a 3-2, mostly party line vote to enact new net neutrality regulations. They have classified broadband services, including mobile, as a common carrier under Title II of the Telecommunications Act, with additional support from Section 706. This explicitly means no blocking, no throttling, no paid prioritization. There are provisions for reasonable network maintenance. They can do that, but they're going to get in trouble if they push that too far. This also allows the FCC to expand their authority over ISP to ISP interconnections, solving issues such as what Netflix has repeatedly run into. In addition...
The handshake problems, right?
The handshake problems, yeah. In addition, in news that surprised some, the FCC will allow fair access to poles and conduits in order to make it easier to build new ISPs. Starting to help like that competition problem. Now, the law allows the FCC to forbear any part of Title II they don't think is applicable, as such, they've decided to forbear 27 aspects, which is most of Title II, and over 700 aspects of Section 706. The key forbearances are rate regulation. There will be no rate regulation on the internet. And they won't have to contribute into the Universal Service Fund. So prices, theoretically, this means there won't be additional cost burdens on ISPs. They could do rate regulation and they could do the Universal Service Fund, but they're going to forbear those aspects. As a result of all this, there was literally much rejoicing within the FCC, conference room this morning. People were clapping and cheering and all kinds of things. It was quite a sight for a, government functionary meeting.
Well, apparently they started with some kind of like rock music.
Yep. And the Democrats gave impassioned speeches in favor, and then the Republicans gave extended speeches again. So this is going to kill innovation and kill us all. And news that's somewhat closer to home for me, the FCC also voted to pull priority over state law and allow municipal broadbands in North Carolina and Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is very close to my country home, to expand beyond their set municipal area. There had been regulations passed restricting them from going beyond their kind of city limits. The FCC, since in the end, federal law has primacy over state laws, they pulled priority, and in all of this, there will now be, they will be able to expand out into the suburbs, and hopefully maybe slightly south into rural North Georgia. I'm just saying, I no longer technically have broadband at the parsonage. In all of this, there will be lawsuits, particularly around the reclassification. And Congress is working on passing a bill to restrict the authority of the FCC, and Obama has threatened to veto it. So this isn't totally over, and we don't yet have the full text of the new regulations. So we don't quite know what exactly we're cheering about. But based on what we know now, what are your thoughts? Do you think we won?
So I think that what we won at was when you look back at Wheeler and the decision in the Verizon case and kind of the feeling of the internet that, that was our chance right there. And we know Wheeler isn't going to stand up to the ISPs, and we know that
he's an inside man.
He's an inside guy. He's not going to want to classify them as Title II because they don't want to be classified as Title II. And then just a couple of months later, Well,
almost.
it was about a year ago that it was like, there's no hope for this. We're opening it, and then they're like, oh, we're going to open it up for public comment, which is
Yeah,
like,
we're
oh,
like,
that's
oh,
kind of surprising.
what difference is that going to make? They don't ever listen to us anyways. Blah blah blah.
But then the internet like crashed upon their heads,
It's partly
and
thanks to John
then
Oliver.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it's a good show.
I mean, it's a great example of what can be accomplished. However, I find it very interesting the political kind of gesturing that's going on behind this, and how somehow net neutrality has become a political issue where Democrats are standing up for, I guess, the small mom and pop ISP, and
Well,
Republicans are standing up for the large conglomerates known as Comcast and Time Warner
and
Cox,
Comcast Time Warner.
possibly Comcast Time Warner. So it's this very weird thing to me, because I don't fully understand how it became so charged.
Well, it's Washington, so anything becomes charged. And
Well, that's true.
Anything gets boiled down to a binary. And the other part of it is look, Comcast and Time Warner, and that group spends a ton of money on lobbying. A ton of money on lobbying. And so that's contributing to it. And so the Republican case has come down to this, classic big government quashing the potential for innovation and competition. Because these are in no way federally subsidized monopolies. That's not it. Oh, no. Yes, these are federally subsidized monopolies. There is no competition at all. Innovation is sorely behind. Korea has like 300 megabit per second wireless internet. We recently decided that broadband is 25 megabits per second, and the Republicans tried to go against that using some logic based on human teleportation. One of the quotes from the O'Reilly, one of the two Republicans on the FCC was like, 4K, if we've decided that we want 25 megabits per second because that's what 4K is. Well, 4K isn't really going to be the standard until much further down the road, and if we're going to prepare for that, we might as well just prepare for human teleportation, because that might be coming down the road too, and how far out do we have to plan these standards? Like, screw you. Like, 4K video may not be here, but like, I need 25 megabits per second for the things that I'm doing in the here and now, and you do not want to create a digital divide where some people can do these amazing things on the internet and some people can't.
Well, the other thing is that, and I understand the argument that could be used against this, but so these two things go hand in hand. Like, yes, we want to like expand the broadband reach in America, and we want to not limit what can go over those pipes because of paid prioritization or throttling.
Yeah, but no one's really arguing about the throttling or the blocking. The only thing, mobile might be arguing about the throttling. Okay. So, by the way, they can't throttle my unlimited plan anymore. That was specifically in this note. They can't throttle my unlimited plan anymore. They can't say it's unlimited and then not give me unlimited.
See, mine, they're very careful in how they say that, because I have an unlimited T-Mobile plan. So what it says is I have unlimited X speed. And then I'm paying for X gigs of...
I'm not entirely sure they can do that anymore. We'll have to see how the final regulation comes out.
Yeah, I'll have to read up on that.
Well, we don't know yet. We won't know for 60 days. It's going to be a while until we know that. But so no one's arguing about over blocking, really. The real issue is the paid prioritization and the overall just reclassification as a common carrier. They wanted to be an info service because that gives them a ton more flexibility in terms of what they can do. And so they're talking about this is going to be seen as a mistake. This is going to quash innovation, all of this. And I'm just not sure I buy that argument. In the end, they're going to need to stay competitive, at least on some level. Right? It's going to be, especially, for the wireless carriers, but for the home broadband too. As gigabit internet gets around, people are taking notice. And it's really dumb that now I'm going to be able to get gigabit internet in both the places I currently live just as I'm about to move, which is really stupid. If you think about it, I'm literally dodging gigabit in 2 places. To go to Houston where there isn't any yet.
There will never be.
There might.
Never. There will not be for a while, just because of the large area that is served by the Houston metropolitan area.
Right. I mean, yes. So we'll see how that scales up. But some of this regulation might allow for that because of the being able to use the conduits and the wires. I'm just not sure I buy the Republican argument. I don't really see it.
Well, the other thing is that you look at this, and I guess that what I was getting to on the municipal internet is municipal internet exists not because the government's like, oh, well, we just feel like doing this, but more because the government went, okay, our citizens are not getting internet. So the only way for us to do this is for everyone to kind of pitch in and us do this as a community. Because it's all local government.
It's all local government. And what's interesting is, and they highlight this in the FCC note, is that it could be that they were just trying to get their people internet. I think there was internet in Chattanooga before that. Some of what the municipal internet is doing,
is to try to get business.
Is try to get businesses, and so Amazon.
That's why Topeka wanted Google Fiber,
right? And and that's why one of the reasons why Amazon now has a huge operation in Chattanooga. Amazon and Volkswagen both have huge operations in Chattanooga now, and they link that to the municipal broadband, the municipal gigabit Ethernet stuff. So there's a Republican argument to be made about this is essentially like building roads. In the end, this is literally now like building roads or laying train tracks. What it does
is building infrastructure. It's an infrastructure.
It's building infrastructure so that people can do business in your place. And this speed of internet is becoming increasingly essential in kind of modern America. The most valuable company in the world is a tech company, right? It's Apple. It's the most valuable company in the world. And you start to look at where, Microsoft is almost as big as ExxonMobil. Again, these are really huge companies, really core to our economy at this juncture. And the economy of China, I mean, we share it in some ways. But the design, the R&D, the development, the software, the hosting, that's all being done stateside or in different localities around the world. That's not majority happening in China.
Right.
These things matter in terms of our economy. And access to the internet is, at higher and higher speeds is going to be increasingly tied to consumer spending. People aren't buying DVDs anymore. They're watching Netflix. They're subscribing to Amazon Prime. They're downloading. Everything is streaming. Even downloading is dead. And so much consumer spending, they're downloading games now. Or they're streaming games.
Games, which were previously fully disc-based,
right,
or cartridge-based.
Again, so much consumer spending is becoming tied to having a fat pipe that actually functions as at high speed. Or else you're going to buy your Xbox One, designed by an American company, built by Foxconn, most likely. Right. But designed by an American company, and the profits, are here. And they're going to go, oh, I can't download. Oh, I'm going to have to go to the store. Oh, I don't want to go to the store. And then they're not going to spend $60 in your economy. I mean, having this internet thing, this isn't just about weirdos watching porn and posting to message boards. Which, by the way, that's gotten more difficult this week.
That's true. Well, the other thing to remember is that when you're buying a physical media, it's like we've discussed on T4 many times, buying physical media means that you can always sell it back.
Right. So
buying digital media is not portable. You own it forever, but
maybe you own it as long as the servers are up.
Right. You own it as long as the servers are there, but
which is different. So in the end, I mean, downloads are convenient, but money-wise, they're better for the companies.
Yeah. Well, theoretically, with a fat pipe, companies can make an argument that downloads are better for everybody. Right. Because it's more convenient for you and it makes them more money. It's not good for people that can't afford the games to begin with.
Or it's also not super good historically. right? So I can sit down and I can play assuming I can find a cart, I can play everything that came out for the NES. Everything. To its fullest extent. Try playing the original Halo 2. Can you play it to its full extent?
No, because there's no multiplayer.
Because Xbox Live for the original Xbox is gone. Right? It's gone. So 15 years from now, when I am telling my brother's children about his travails in WoW, and the WoW servers have been shut down, we can't go back to Azeroth. Actually, you can. You can spoof a server. I've done it. Once. So it's harder from a historical perspective, too. Now, these companies don't care about that. It's only weirdos like me who sit here with a Game Boy Micro on my desk that care about this.
Archive.org.
Right. Again. But it's one thing to just be able to dump the ROMs. That's easy, right? Dumping the ROMs and creating an emulation shell to run it. That's not the issue. It's the server-based, it's the server tie-in stuff where it gets tricky.
Destiny.
Or even Forza.
Like
what happens when all the drivatars are gone? What happens when all the drivatars are gone? Anyways,
do drivatars dream of electric sheep?
Anyways, we're kind of far afield. The point is, the internet as a powerful thing matters not just in terms of access, or not just in terms of things Republicans don't care about, but it's becoming really important to our economy for consumer spending as more and more of our entertainment lives become digital.
Right, which is why
streaming.
This being a partisan issue, I think, is really interesting. But I will say that I think that we definitely have won this battle, but we have not won the war.
Well, and we got it, and also, caveat emptor, we don't have our hands on the regulation. We don't actually know. There was a lot of
the battle was
cheering.
this vote.
Right, the vote, but we don't know what the thing they actually voted on is. And until we do that, it's difficult to actually declare a real victory. But it looks like we got close to what we wanted. So speaking to really close to what we want, Pebble has a new Kickstarter?
Yeah, so this week Pebble released their newest smartwatch in an old way called the Pebble.
It's not out. They announced it.
Well, yeah, okay.
Released means it came out.
Okay.
Can you buy one and receive it now?
Receive it now. You can buy one now.
Right. Well, yeah, I can buy. I can buy Fantasy Star Online 2, but I won't receive it.
So, anyways, they have announced their newest smartwatch in an old way, called the Pebble Time. The new watch changes almost everything about the previous generation of.
It's still
Pebble,
e-ink,
but
so
keeps
not quite.
But keeps the core of what is Pebble, I would say.
Yeah. Of
7-day battery life, and the physical buttons are the same as what are on the original Pebble and the Pebble Steel. But in changes, first the watch sports a new color e-ink screen,
sweet,
which replaces the black and white screen on the Pebble and Pebble Steel, which you can see here. I've got my Pebble Steel as a prop. Then it also keeps the metal bezel, but it changes it slightly. So instead of on mine where it's a metal on the sides, it kind of is around the front. So instead of being glass like this one is, it's metal. And then it appears it may be some kind of a plastic behind that. They didn't specify. They were very specific that it was a stainless steel bezel, but they didn't say what the backing material was.
So if they say it's a stainless steel bezel, it's plastic on the back.
It's probably plastic on the back. Well, they have a red version, and the red looks like plastic.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It kind of looks like an Apple Watch.
It does kind of look like an Apple Watch.
Well, actually, more than kind of.
It's so if you look at the Pebble Steel, it's very flat. The new Pebble is slightly curved, like an Apple Watch. Yeah. In addition to that, it's going to have a microphone. They say it's 20% thinner than the Pebble Steel. The Pebble Time also rethinks the metaphor used on a smartwatch. And this, arguably, other than the e-ink screen, is probably the biggest news here. So they ditched the app metaphor entirely and they've developed a new interface that they call Timeline. Now, with Timeline, what you do is, and like I said, the buttons are the same. So if you press on the right side of it on the top, you'll go backwards in time instead of cycling through watch faces like my watch is going to do. If you press the center button, it'll take you to the present. And if you press forward or select the event that you're on, and if you select the bottom button, it'll take you forward in time. So this will have various different feeds, including calendar events, messages, emails, and sports. They're also, for those familiar with the Pebble ecosystem, you'll no longer be limited to the 6 or 8 apps that they let you have now. It'll just cache what it needs, and it'll communicate with your phone more actively, so you don't have to communicate with your watch and say, okay, app, I want to take these apps off and put these apps on. It'll do that automatically, which is a nice thing. So if this sounds interesting to you, the Pebble Time is available for pre-order, kind of, if you want to call it that, for backing. So as Trey mentioned, the Pebble Time was released on Kickstarter, just like the original device. And it is projected to start shipping in May. They've blown through that. They're now into June, if you want to go ahead and order it. They also broke the record for the fastest a project reaches $1 million in backing. It only took them 49 minutes. The previous record took like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's a heck of a thing.
And when I pulled the information, it was at $10,650,000.
It's up to $10,783,000.
Okay, yeah, I was going to write it in 700, but I didn't know where it was going to be.
With a goal of $500,000.
Yeah. So when the device retails this summer, it'll cost $200. Online, it's currently going for $179 on the Kickstarter if you back the Kickstarter. But the real question here, and the question you actually asked me when I asked you about this device was, with the Apple Watch and a slew of Android Wear devices coming this spring, and probably with Android Wear next week at Mobile World Congress.
And Apple the week, I mean, we're going to talk about this towards the end of the show, but Apple the week after on March 9th.
But the question is it worth backing the Kickstarter now?
See, I think they're being really, my point is I think they're being really strategic. They know,
I think that the device was not ready to ship until May, which is why they released it on Kickstarter.
Which is why they announced it now. So right now, they've got a full, clear news cycle, right? We have Apple Watch.
They announced it at the beginning of this week.
The beginning of this week, Apple didn't even get in there. So they've already made $10 million off of this watch before anything else gets announced.
They've already sold something like 50,000 of them.
Again, and they've sold over 1 million smartwatches, which is more than anybody else. And so they've done that. They've planted their flag. They say this is going to come out when it comes out. But we are taking the money now. Because I think they know if they were to announce it next week, or the week after, or anything after the Apple Watch is a thing, they're a drop in the bucket. Right now, they get to act like the market leaders still. I think once Apple announces, they're not going to be, and we have real details and real firm date, and we can all start lining up, Apple's going to sell more than 50,000 in a day. Right? They're going to make more than $10 million in a day. It's going to make this thing look ridiculous in terms of what it's going to sell. If it's going to be worth it or not, who cares? They're still going to have a huge day one that's going to blow that's going to totally alter the numbers of the smartwatch market. And so I think Pebble is just being really strategic. I'm not saying they're duping you, but you're playing a game of incomplete information. If you are just have money burning a hole in your pocket and you just think that this is the second coming of Tectum, fine, put your money in. But I would wait. I mean,
well, the other thing is, so the thing to remember about Pebble is that it's a slightly different value proposition than the Apple Watch or even the Android Wear devices.
Sure.
And what we've seen of the Apple Watch should give you an idea if it's something that you're interested in. And what you've seen of Android Wear will give you an idea of if you're
not
at all interested in it. As in,
From what you've seen of Android Wear, it should probably tell you you're not interested in it. It's
if you want an actual watch, you should probably not buy an Android Wear device.
or
I'm just
wait
saying.
till the LG Urbane. I mean, there are some watches coming. It's just the stuff that's
That
out
are-
right now, except
yeah.
maybe the Guatch.
Yeah.
That's just not. That's just not there yet. Maybe this year's iteration, starting with the Urbane, will get there. But it up until now, it looks like something for cyborgs.
But
not
the
for
thing,
humans.
but the thing with the Pebble is that it will probably be the cheapest device available this year,
Sure.
and it has that's you want, and it has the color e-ink, so it's going to be color instead of the black and white. They've announced Android Wear integration already.
It is an Android Wear.
It is an Android Wear device, kind of,
It's
and
very kludgy.
yeah, it is very kludgy. But the reason why I went with the Pebble originally is 7-day battery life.
Yeah.
And the water resistance,
Sure.
which is something that none of the other watches on the market have,
Right. No,
and I'm not sure they're going to have.
Look, I don't think it's a bad device. I think it's a good device. I'm sorely tempted. And if I wasn't a tech reviewer and trying to think through coverage, I may actually just put my money down because I think the Apple Watch is too expensive and does not have enough battery life and arguably doesn't offer enough functionality to justify that cost. I just wouldn't do it now.
But the answer, as always, is if you can wait, you should
you
wait.
can.
But
These things will be, maybe they'll be scarce for the first month that they're out, but come June, mid-July, you're going to be fine.
by the
You'll
by
be
the
able
end
to go
of
to
the
Best
summer,
Buy and buy it.
by
And
the
you'll
end of
have
the summer, you'll be
seen
able to buy it.
what comes out at Mobile World Congress. You'll have seen the Apple Watch and probably know someone who has it. You'll see what comes out at Google
Or at least
I/O.
played with it in the Apple Store.
Right. You'll have had a chance to look at the market and make the assessment. These things are no longer $100, right? We're talking about $200 for this device. You can save $20, but again, saving 10% and then ending up with this watch you don't want isn't really a savings. So wait. Now you can wait forever. I would wait till middle of summer. We'll have a pretty good idea of what this smartwatch market is come the middle of summer.
Well, and guess what? I bought my Pebble Steel last year in July after pre-ordering it when it was announced, and then it getting so delayed that I just said, forget it. I will wait and see what else comes out at Google I/O and everything else. Nothing looked good. The Moto 360 did not get good reviews when it came out for exactly the things I was worried about. And so I was in a Best Buy. I saw it, and I went, you know what? Why not?
Sure.
So I bought it.
Again, I think that's the way to do this. So phones tend to have a fall release. Right now, watches are in the spring timeline. So wait till the end of the spring. Wait till the summer. See where we are as a market. Look, I'm not bashing this device. I think this is absolutely the right device for Pebble to go with because they're sticking with their core values of simplicity and battery life, which up until now has had me say that this is the best thing in the smartwatch market by a long shot. It's also the best selling for very good reasons. With the Apple Watch impending and Mobile World Congress and Google I/O, this market is set to explode. I think it's Apple that's going to make it happen. Whether that's worth it or whether it's actually worth it or not, I don't know. So, kind of transitioning.
Oh, the one thing I think I forgot to mention is and I mentioned this in the pre-show. I don't know if I mentioned it now. They are bringing the timeline to the Pebble Steel and the original Pebble.
That's awesome.
So they will be continuing that backwards support of their previous devices, which is something that you just look at Pebble as a company, you go, you guys are crazy.
Yeah. So speaking of crazy, it turns out that Lenovo was not the only crazy one.
Oh gosh. So you remember last week how disappointed we were in Lenovo for allowing Supervish to happen, that whole mess. Well, I regret to inform you that we have a follow-up to that story, and it isn't pretty. So
it wasn't real pretty to start with.
Yeah, so after the news last week, the internet went to work trying to determine how widespread this effect was. This whole root level access for spoofed and kind of easy to hack SSL certificates, and they found a bunch of them. So what it turns out is that there's a company behind it called Comedia or Comodia.
Commodia.
And what Comodia is it's an open source SSL decoder and redirector. And it's used by a lot of different programs, among which are parental controls and um, basically IP, something about hiding your IP. There's a list of apps and programs that use this open source software to handle really hiding yourself from the internet or the internet from you, one way or the other. But the problem is that when they distribute it to people to use in their apps or their software, um, they use the same password for everything, like everything
It's
for root
actually
level
just
access,
Commodia.
which is Comodia, the name of the company.
The name of the company is the password for root level access to all of these machines. And it's not like they did something sensible, like having a different password for each iteration, or a different password, or a different key for each user. No. It's just all Commodia.
Well, and the other thing is that they bundle the private key in with the SSL certificate, which is what makes it really easy to hack.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. So there's a number of programs, like I mentioned, that have been found to use it using this. One of the ones that I personally have used for years for removing specifically adware type programs called AdAware
Uh-huh.
uses Comedia as its kind of kernel to do what it does.
Uh-huh.
And I know I'm not the only one that has recommended it. It's been highly recommended by many, many, many tech sites, including CNET, download.com, also CNET property.
Which you just can't trust anymore because they also install just crapware alongside their downloads.
And Gadget. Basically, Leo Laporte. It's been heavily pushed as one of the things you need in order to remove crap from your computer. So Trey, as more and more programs get identified as having this specific weakness, how do we prevent ourselves from getting screwed by whatever the next thing is?
I think on some level, you don't need a lot of this crap. In an era
Parental controls?
I mean, Windows has
Built-in parental controls.
built-in parental controls. Certainly, iOS does. Buy your kid a tablet. Supervise your kid while they're web browsing. There are ways. But buy your kid a tablet.
Put the family computer in the living room.
Put your family computer in the
They
living room.
probably won't look at porn there.
Right. Or Rule 34, they're just going to find a way. Like, life finds a way. It's amazing that Google image search terms that can return porn if you're really trying. Not that I've
sometimes even if you're really not trying.
Yeah, so this happens at work to me all the time. I search for artwork to go up on the screens during worship services. And so periodically it's just pornography or, nudes or, whatever also shows up in amongst the artwork. And I'm like, I'm really glad I do this alone in the studio and that no one else is in here usually when I'm trying to find artwork.
Yeah, while you're trying to find artwork for, your religious institution.
Oh, at the religious institution. Like I'm sitting at, my iMac in the booth. It's bad. So in a world where Windows Defender exists, certainly if you're running Windows 8, you don't need most of this crap.
Yeah.
There's very few really useful tools, actually useful tools, that are using Commodia. What there needs to be on some level is better education as to what you actually need in this day and age, that things are different now. And I'm not entirely sure how you do that, and maybe some of it is getting rid of crapware on PCs that make it sound like, oh, you need McAfee. You don't need McAfee. If you're running Windows 8, you don't need McAfee.
Well, in a lot of ways, newer PCs have toned that down. PCs 5-10 years ago were really bad about that, of having not only just McAfee, there'd be also like 4 other programs that were there to keep your computer clean.
Right, Adaware being one of them.
The Adaware was not one that I've encountered that has been pre-installed, but It was one of the ones along with Spybot. So I used to run two. It would be AdAware and Spybot Search and Destroy.
I ran Spybot.
Spybot,
SMB.
as far as I'm aware, is still like a great program that you should use.
If you're running XP,
I think it still works for Windows 8.
yeah, but you don't need. Yes, but why? You don't need it anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
In a world with Windows Defender,
do rely on Windows Defender.
you don't need it. You don't
And Windows
need it
Defender
anymore.
was one of the early ones to
declare this malware.
declare this malware
Yeah.
and start trying to root it out. Also, a follow up on last week's story. Lenovo itself has issued an uninstall pack for uninstalling.
Also, multiple apologies.
And it was just like, oh God, we're so sorry. God,
this is bad. This is real bad, guys. Oh God, just stop.
Lenovo's
Oh God.
Lenovo's marketing department went, oh crap, we screwed up this time.
Can I go home now? It's just, oh God. I just want to go. I would just post to their website. Yeah, we know. We're real sorry. It's real bad. Just, whatever the answer to your question is, we're real sorry.
We're sorry.
It would be like a 3-sentence press release. Yep, we know. It's real bad. We're real sorry.
We never intended it to be this bad.
Oops.
Sorry.
Yeah. We
will update you when we have further information. Again, we're real sorry.
Again, we're real sorry. And that's basically the tone of it. This is not like, one of the things that they said is, yeah, we don't make that much money off this. Then why did you do it? But I mean, the truth is, they just didn't. Like I said last week, they just didn't know what it was. Right?
They went, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah. Everyone wants more advertising. It really increases the value of their PC. Yeah.
I'm sure someone came in and made this great presentation about how there's so many junk ads online, and don't you want to have something that's slightly more targeted advertising?
Yeah.
So if people are going to be seeing ads, they might as well see ads that are like useful.
Yeah, that's Facebook and Google's core argument. So Paul Thurrott actually talks to these people. I don't talk to these people, but Paul Thurrott does, and that's good. And Paul Thurrott has this extended piece on Windows Weekly this week that's basically like, no, they actually think they're helping customers with all of this BS. They actually think that crapware helps their customers. And Leo and Mary Jo Foley keep trying to talk Paul out of this. Like, no, how could they possibly think that? They gotta know it's junk. And it's like, no, they actually think
because he's the consumer PC guy.
He's the consumer PC guy. And he's
Mary
going,
Jo is like, no, all the enterprise people are like, you're smoking some really, really high grade crack.
And like, Paul agrees that they're delusional, but some of them actually think that by packing in this crap software, they are in some way helping their consumers by offering them additional value. So maybe this will help them be less delusional.
So Superfish is the result of a delusional madman?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Superfish is the result of delusional
madmen. Yes, actually, if we're going for a show title, yeah.
Yeah. You are absolutely right. Speaking of almost entirely delusional, I will give you the actual news first. Apple is holding an event March 9th at the Yerba Buena Center for the Performing Arts.
I've heard of it.
They sent out the invites today with the title Spring Forward. End quote. Here ends the news. Now begins the speculation. This is almost definitely the Apple Watch launch event that we've been alluding to all show, where we will get final information on pricing, release date, an update on app things, and hopefully at least some indication about more information on battery life. There are also rumors swirling around about an updated Apple TV, a refresh of the MacBook Air to be more in line with the Dell XPS 13, with the bezel-less display.
We all know that's coming in June.
It's all. I mean, it's coming at some point. And the larger iPad that the iPad Surface Pro 3. Sorry, the Surface Pro iPad, the iPad Pro 3, the whatever, the 12 inch, the bigger iPad with the stylus. That's just the Surface Pro 3. To my mind, who knows? But I think they wouldn't want to pull focus from such an important product launch. To me, this is such a big deal. This
The only thing
probably
they
get
would
its
do-
own press conference.
The only thing I think they would do is do a, hey, we did a minor memory bump, or we did a slight refresh on like internals.
They don't announce those anymore. They just put out a press release like normal people.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm glad the madness has slowed.
right. I mean, the Retina 5K aside. Oh God, the Retina 5K.
Yeah, but that was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh man, if I had CapEx budget left, if I did, oh man, that would be on my desk at work right now, because I could really edit some images that way, like really, like pixel per pixel, edit some images.
So what I'm going to say is I'm really proud of other tech journalists because they didn't make the joke that I'm about to make. But I think that Spring Forward is really an allusion to a number of years ago when all the clocks changed and all the iPhones didn't.
Well, it's actually the day after the time change.
I know. It's the day after the time change.
So if your Apple alarm hasn't shown up, it's what you'll be waking up to when you think it's Sunday. I'll be in Brazil when this happens, so I won't get to watch this live. So, Jimmy, the burden falls to you to not do much
my
work.
Apple fanboyness.
Yeah. I mean, I will literally be in Brazil, probably using exclusively my Asha de Nokia as my... it's a beautiful phone. So do you think the Apple Watch is the one? Do you think... I mean, I've kind of given my opinion, right? I think it's at least the one that's going to sell.
Oh, it'll be a commercial success, at least at the beginning. It'll sell out, and it'll be hard to get, and there will be this pent-up demand for it. But based on what we've seen thus far, I don't think it's the one. I think that they're trying. So there are a couple of things that Apple can do that'll convince me that it might be the one.
Okay.
And I think that that's a more interesting conversation. Like what would make it the one?
Sure. What would make it the one? Since we don't know yet, what would make it the one?
Full day battery life with the screen on.
I think
even if it's in a low idle position.
I think we'll get that. I think we'll get something similar to Nokia Glance, and we'll get that.
Yeah, exactly. So something similar to Nokia Glance or the what Motorola has been doing with the AMOLED displays.
Yeah. Very much like that.
That's how they're most.
Or what
of them
Samsung does with those
that.
stupid cases with the little gap.
Yeah, no, not that. Whatever Samsung does, not that.
Look, we're gonna have to next week. You're gonna have to talk about the Galaxy S6.
I know.
You're gonna have to talk about it.
I'll talk about it.
You should probably buy it.
No,
I think it's gonna be a heck of a phone. I
So-
think I've come around on Samsung now that they, aren't winning. Anyways, continue.
Everyone likes an underdog.
I like an underdog.
So I think that that's one of their big hurdles is the battery life argument. And then the life cycle of the product.
Yeah. See, that's the big question mark for me.
I think that if they announce plans to keep so you can keep your housing of your watch even, and if they're going to update the internals or some kind of, if they announce, even if it's just in an abstract way, that they're designing this to be a device that'll last for years.
So here's what I want.
And then they roll back next year, and when they announce the next one, and they say, and this is what we're going to do for people with existing Apple Watches.
Here's what I really want. So I'm probably, right now, as it stands, I'm going to buy what we think is going to be $500, so that it hasn't been announced. The smaller of the stainless steel and sapphire ones. Not the sport, but the normal one. And obviously not the edition, because I don't have a spare 18 grand. I'm not cashing out my stock options to buy an Apple
edition.
Watch for an edition. Like, I'm just not going to do edition. I'm not... I bought a Windows Phone. This is...
You don't need an Apple
edition.
edition.
It's They've broken the English language. They have broken the
Tech firms in general.
It's just they've broken the English language. So that thing's $500. Now, probably. Let's call. I mean, if it bases at $350, this is Apple pricing. It only goes up. It goes up in $100 or $150 increments. This is the way of things. So we can be fairly confident that it's either going to be $450 or $500. And what it might be is hopefully $450 for the small and $500 for the big. But whatever, my bet is it's going to be $350, $400, $450, $500. $350 for the small sport, $400 for the big sport, $450 for the small regular, $500 for the big regular. That's my bet. And then who cares about the edition? Really? Like Beyonce, whatever the Kardashians, it's Kanye, who I guess is also a Kardashian. That's how that works, right? Kanye
yeah,
is
that's how that
just
works.
He's a musical
Kanye Kardashian.
Kanye Kardashian. Although I have to admit, Northwest is a pretty hilarious name for a child. Like, I heard that and went, I should be mad, but I'm not. Like, that's hilarious. Like, well played, sir. North is not a crazy dumb name, and your name, this is like a guy in my, this is way far afield, a guy in my high school class named, his last name was Ding, and he wanted to name his kid William. Bill Ding, right? Like, or, my friend Travis wanted to name whose last name was Went, wanted to name his son Cayman Went. Right. So Northwest kind of falls with that Bill Ding and Cayman Went kind of philosophy I'm okay with. But anyways, this is a really expensive device. No matter how you slice it, this is a really expensive device. I want that for $200 or $100, I can just have the internals swapped to the newest internals. And so that way, and then Apple would probably get more money out of me over the lifetime of the device because I would probably upgrade it every year. Whereas I'm not going to upgrade it every year if it's full $500 every year. You got to be kidding me. I just, $200, and now I'm at like $400 every other year for a new phone that I'm using every day, constantly, all the time. Okay, fine. $2,700 every 4 years for a new MacBook Pro. Again, totally justified. This is like my bread and butter in the work world. I'll never upgrade my iPad, so that's almost entirely irrelevant.
And everybody else will never upgrade your
their
iPad.
And it's part of the problem in the iPad market. But again, for the most part, I don't actually have a problem with Apple's upgrade cycle because they actually make it through the upgrade cycle. My MacBook Pro will last me 4 years. Unless something terrible happens in the next 2 months, this thing will have lasted me 4 years, which for a laptop is incredible. My phones, I upgrade because I want to, not because I have to. You could probably realistically get 3 years out of it, no problem. I just choose not to. But again, I'm making that choice. I don't feel forced into that choice. And again, feel like I'm getting good value for money. With this watch, $500 every year? And especially because it's going to change rapidly, at least on the tech side, if not on the form factor side.
On the front end, especially.
Right. I need to see what that is. Because I'm in a quandary. I'm either going to buy a Pebble Time or I'm going to buy an Apple Watch. And it just depends on what... Well, okay. 2 things. One, how much do I really feel like I need to cover the Apple Watch? Realistically, again, we're not sponsored, right? This is our own money that goes into this stuff. Is it worth $500 of my own money? In some ways, it actually makes our reviews more valid, right? Because we are actually spending our own money on this stuff. This is stuff we actually want enough to purchase.
Well, same thing with the games we play.
Right. And some of that is because we buy discs and we cycle them. We have tricks to kind of make this a little more affordable. We're not buying a lot of digital downloads, for instance. We did briefly at the beginning of last year, then we both bought Titanfall and regretted it, and so we don't do that
Destiny
anymore.
digital too, but
that, look, I think
again, because it's digital.
Right. I think you got enough value out of Destiny.
Yeah, I probably got, I also bought the Dark Below expansion. I'm not sure I got all the value out of that, but once again, I do really think that for Apple, the key is going to be that upgrade cycle, and I think that one of the biggest things that they could do is make a statement about, because Apple makes high quality hardware.
Yeah. It'll
I think
last
that
2 years. That's not the issue.
it'll last probably more than 2 years.
Yeah.
The actual device itself, outside of the internal pieces, will last longer than 2 years. And so I think it'll really make a statement about the quality that they're going for and what their long-term goals are as a company. Because if you look at devices like watches, you expect them to last a certain amount of time.
Or you expect to like pass them down to your bloody children in the case of an $18,000 Rolex. Just don't buy a Rolex. Don't be that guy.
But the only thing that you like will wear out, like, so for example, I have a Citizen Eco Drive watch that I love, and the only thing that breaks on it is when I wear it a lot. It takes it about a year to a year and a half. I've had it for about 6 years now. After about a year to a year and a half, one of the pins in it's a metal band. One of the pins breaks,
And so you should replace the band.
No, so I don't even replace the band. I take it to a jeweler. They replace the pin, and I go on my merry way.
Right.
It's like $3 to replace a pin.
Right, and Apple's going to have that kind of stuff. I mean, the bands are totally swappable. They look really cool. Like, there are many things going for this watch. It's just, how often are they going to expect me to totally cycle the device? And if that is every year, without a realistic upgrade plan, which Apple has not been doing. I mean, Apple took out the upgradability in their laptops. I mean, the only thing that's upgradable is technically the Mac Pro, and that's because you can hook things on via Thunderbolt, which is not really upgradable.
Doesn't really count.
It doesn't count.
Well, and then you look at what like Samsung did with televisions, where on their top end televisions they offer an expansion pack.
Yeah.
And the expansion pack will cover 4 or 5 years of television.
I actually found that fairly compelling. That's one of the few things at the Samsung booth at CES that I found really compelling.
Well, and that's the reason why my father actually purchased that Samsung. He bought the first generation of that Samsung television.
The S
because
or whatever it was.
Whatever it is. He bought the first generation of it because in the store, because it was they're getting rid of stock at the end of the year. He was getting a new TV, and the guy at Best Buy said, something that is good about this TV is even though it's the end of the year for it, and we're getting the new models in soon, they'll be offering the $200 expansion pack for your $6,000 television or whatever it was.
Right, that's totally worth it.
Well, it was a $3,000 television. But
smart TVs aren't actually worth it, but if you care about the smart TV features, you can at least upgrade it. I want Apple to do something like that.
Right.
Where I can just pull off a plate, or they can, right? They undo the fine pentalobe screws.
I want to give them the watch and say, I would like to upgrade my Apple Watch. And them say, okay, that'll be $100. Take my money, give me my watch back when you're done.
I would like to put a turbo on my Subaru.
Exactly.
Okay. Here's money. The case stays the same. It is still a Subaru. I still have, own most of the Subaru. The bit that the bank doesn't currently own. I own the Subaru. And you can put a turbo on my Subaru. Now I have it turbocharged. This is something I'm often tempted by, turbocharging my Subaru. Because it's basically just an Impreza that's slightly jacked up. So that means all of like the Impreza modifications on the engine side, you can just buy them. From fastandthefurious.com or whatever it is. Too fast, too furious.
I think they call that haironfire.com.
Terrible idea, cause an explosion. Look, I'm not actually going to do this. I bought it as a sensible family car. And it's a sensible family car to go. It's great. Something that's not sensible is the reaction Nor family is this week's last call. Yeah.
So for anyone that's been living under a rock this week. Netflix's hit original series House of Cards will return tomorrow, actually in 15 minutes for Trey, for its third
No,
season.
it's set to
Is it on
Pacific
Pacific? Okay.
Coast. I learned that on Yik Yak.
I'm glad.
I actually did learn that on Yik Yak the other day.
And that's a perfect example of apparently the internet is very excited. So on one article I saw on The Verge, it said, join us 3 a.m. Eastern Time Friday as we live blog
Oh, God.
all of House of Cards Season 3. That is literally the title of the article.
God, they have some great interns at The Verge.
Yeah, the saints, I think, is the correct term.
Oh, come on. That's no dumber than our console live streams.
That's true.
I mean, those were 8-hour middle of the night live streams.
That's true. There have been many posts discussing little-known facts about House of Cards. As I specifically saw one on Mental Floss, and a resurgence in House of Cards memes, which just go to Facebook. My question is, what is it about House of Cards that has us all so riled up? Is it the drama itself, or the fact that we can binge watch the whole season this weekend?
Yes.
Both.
I mean,
It's a great television show that we can binge watch this weekend.
And it's borderline a tech story. So it
is a tech
the
story.
people we follow, the world we live in, it's, the best example of this new model, which it's high quality television that is in this new model and showing how this new model can work. And so we can pretend it's a tech story while we all pretend to be entertainment reporters. And, for those of us who sort of follow video games, we are entertainment reporters. And so it kind of hits this, that we are all, as tech journalists, a weird mix of journalist and entertainment reporter. And I kind of draw lines between those two things, generally speaking. And so this hits the kind of lifestyle side of technology. And it's fun.
The people in tech journalism there are definite lines between those that are hired as journalists and those that are hired as entertainment reporters.
Right. And we as Text Less Call kind of stand in the middle of that. We are commentators and entertainment reporters.
We're definitely commentators. I will not say that we are reporters, but we do place emphasis on trying to find the source for you. Yeah. Giving you our actual interpretation.
And then also actually reviewing things over on the other show. So Techies Talking Tech Tonight is a reviews show. It's also other random things, but it's a reviews show. We review things. Sometimes what we're reviewing is the Sega Nomad. Often we're reviewing the Sega Nomad, but we're reviewing that. So enjoy your House of Cards. I still haven't seen a single episode. On that note, it's time to end. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to tell me why I should watch House of Cards, the answer is you're probably right. Podcast at textlesscall.com, facebook.com/textlesscall, pinterest.com/textlesscall, or at textlesscall on the Twitters. However you find us, we'll be seeing you on the interwebs.
You know the answer.
Yes, I should watch it. Western's one of my favorite shows of all time. I should watch it. I like Kevin Spacey's an actor. I think he's phenomenal. And there's no reason why I shouldn't. I just don't. I mean, I subscribe to Netflix, so I have very easy access. There's no reason why I shouldn't. Except that I don't. At some point I will.
There's too much media.
Maybe when I'm editing. I'm gonna be editing half of tomorrow. So maybe I'll start.